364 days of the year. Relationships and money are sometimes a tough combination.
Certainly can be. Joining us this morning to explain why it's such a hard topic of conversation is our financial advisor, Robert Wilson. Robert, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so explain. This is, well, I guess not a lot of explaining has to be done because a contentious component of a relationship is quite often money.
Absolutely. And with all this talk of stimulus and Valentine's Day right around the corner, it got me to thinking about how relationships are holding up in this type of economic environment. You know, anytime two people decide to go on a relationship ride, it seems like money seems to always call shotgun. But money's like that annoying friend that your mate has that doesn't have a relationship of their own, but tends to periodically instigate fights between the two of you. So, you know, you always know these issues are going to be there, and the key is just figuring out how to deal with them.
Let's start chronologically then, Robert. You meet someone you like, and he or she proposes a prenuptial agreement. You're noting that it's not just a deal for those who are super rich. Can you elaborate and tell us whether or not you think those are good ideas?
I am a fan of the prenuptial agreement. I think a lot of people don't get them for the same reason they don't get insurance, because something bad has to happen in order for it to be useful. But they're not just for the rich. There's no problem with you know, hoping for the best and planning for the worst. And you know, divorce can be a very very expensive thing, and if you need any evidence of that, just ask Paul McCartney and Madonna. So I think it's important for you to, you know, be protected in the event that things don't go well.
And I like this comment that you have here. When it comes to investing, fall in love with your mate, not your stocks.
Absolutely. You know, I've seen a lot of people get an emotional attachment to their investments, and they tend to hold on to them too long and not sell them when they should. And so, you know, I think especially with Valentine's Day around the corner, shower your love on your mate and not your stocks. You can always buy your stock again if it turns out that it's worth it, just like you can rekindle an old flame.
Yes, that's a very good point, Robert. We like this kind of combining money and relationship talk. Talk about the potential hot spots. What could be causing the arguments when it comes to money? Obviously, a mortgage is something that's placing extreme amounts of pressure on people these days. But what are the other kind of hot spots that you might have to look out for when it comes to money and relationships?
Well, I think that people just have different habits. And see, the thing is, no one really ever taught us how to deal with money. And so a lot of our attitudes and habits with money were shaped during our childhood by our parents. So if our parents were constantly worried about money, chances are that you worry about money a lot too. If your parents spent freely, then you don't probably have any issues going to Macy's and splurging on the weekend. So I think it's important to start early and talk about the other person's perspective so you can get an idea of where they're coming from. And if you start early, over time, you can come to a consensus in the middle.
Understanding the other side. And Robert, real quickly, I know you're not a psychologist or a marital counselor, but do you see a commonality when it comes to arguments over money?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, one spouse is going to argue that the other spouse spends too much. They're going to argue whether the finances should be commingled or if people should have separate accounts. So yeah, there are a lot of common arguments that go along. I think if you can speak to an advisor or someone who can mediate that, it might make it a lot easier for you.
All right.
He has a knowing laugh there.
I do.
All right, Robert Wilson, we thank you for your time. Really interesting topic because it is very touchy of a subject in many relationships.
Many relationships. And my wife, she's awesome. She doesn't go out. She's great at not spending. God love her.
Shout out to Gina. So by the way, Robert is going to be joining us every month with financial advice here on the Pittsburgh CW. So make sure to tune in here to the morning news to get his very